that it's obvious that we're witnessing is the destruction of Palestinian life in Gaza. Netanyahu himself is admitting to this. When he was confronted by a U.S. senator, this is reported in Israeli press and American press, about how the fact that starving Palestinians in Gaza is giving bad PR for Israel and it'll be difficult to continue supporting them. Then Netanyahu goes to his government allies and says, here, we're going to have to let some food in, but don't worry, this is just a PR move. The plan is still to drive Palestinians out of Gaza in accordance with the Trump plan. They are open about the fact that what they're trying to do is eliminate Palestinian existence in Gaza. And frankly, you would just have to be a moral monster at this point to defend it and whitewash it when you should know better. And Emily, you do know better. You live in Israel. You're exposed to Israeli media. You know that's how everybody is talking in Israel about eliminating Palestinians and committing a second Nakba in Gaza.
No, they're not.
That is the discourse that is dominating Israeli politics.
Okay, let me bring Shail in, because you have an interesting perspective, I think, Shail. Welcome to Uncensored. You initially, an Israeli, you initially supported your country's right to defend itself, as indeed did I for many months. But earlier this year, you said that you now believed it was committing a genocide. Explain to me your changing view here.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what Emily is saying in theory, because after October 7th, Israel absolutely had a right and an obligation to defend itself and defend its citizens. There's absolutely no question about that. But as someone who has some knowledge of military strategy, it became very clear to me after a few months that Israel was not fighting this war in order to win it. The fact that Hamas remains in control of large parts of Gaza after so long tells you a lot about the priorities of the IDF and of the government in this war. So when I started seeing that at no point was there a day after plan to replace Hamas, that areas that are still controlled by Hamas are not being invaded by the IDF, and that the decision to stop bringing in aid or lessen the aid considerably is not hurting Hamas at all, because Hamas can get the aid, but it's hurting civilians instead. I started realizing that something else is at play here. It took me far too long. It took me many months to understand that. Then I also have contacts in the IDF. And they started telling me that the IDF is going after the clean water supply, every well, every aquifer, that they're going after every hospital, that they're trying to destroy basically the infrastructure that allows you to live in Gaza. And they're using the same effort and the same tools that they should be using in order to defeat Hamas to do that. So Hamas is in power, but every single house in several cities in Gaza has been destroyed. The fact that they haven't been destroyed so far is a completely calculated and intentional policy. And when the goals of the war are elucidated by the government, they talk about a quote-unquote voluntary removal of the population of Gaza. These are not things that some random person with some association to the government is saying. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu is saying. This is what Donald Trump is saying. These are the stated policies.
I know for 100% sure that there is not a restriction on the amount of aid that is allowed into Gaza. There is an operational distribution problem that primarily is being blocked right now by the United Nations.
All right, let me bring Shail back in. Shail, your response to this?
Yeah, so first of all, the idea that it is aid organizations that are starving Gaza intentionally is so absurd, I'm not even going to address it. Now, as far as the current problem with distribution, it's an intentional problem. What's missing in this conversation is the creation of the GHF. The GHF was created, as has been exposed in the media, by Israel and the United States, intentionally to serve Israel's operational goals, which, as I've stated, are not to defeat Hamas, they're to destroy the Palestinian people in Gaza. And what they've done since is hand out the food in such a way that creates a choice for the people of Gaza. Either you starve to death or you get shot to death. These are death traps. The amount of people who have been killed is staggering. And the fact that the number keeps rising instead of going down shows that they're not learning from their mistakes. They're learning how to become more lethal rather than learning how to become less lethal.